be able to see me better now. Lucky neck. There it goes. Collarbone. Yes. Collarbone's out.
Happy birthday, Lauren. How is it, Lauren? Relax. Relax. Hello, Queen. Do you feel sleepy, guys? I already made myself sleepy. This one. I mean the petals. The petals.
Oh, shit. I need to get my tripod. Let me get it. Let me get my tripod. Can you guys tell me, is my camera lagging or is it good? Can you see me good? Is my camera lagging at all or can you see me good? Okay, because I just restarted the live. I was using my Android and it was lagging. So I just want to make sure my iPhone's not lagging for you guys. Alright, again, what's everyone up to? I'm just chilling in bed. It's like 3 a.m. here. I'm listening to some ASMR. Zoning out. I just did a bunch of work in bed. Alright, good. Thanks, Tim. What are you guys all up to? England in the house. What's up? I just got done doing a bunch of work in bed. And, yeah, just chilling. I'm from California. The law department. The law and order in the house. What is going on? I do lives and then sometimes I fall asleep on the lives. I do ride share in the day. I was doing some affiliate stuff. Trying to get as many hours in so I can monetize this channel. Anyone who wants to support, just subscribe for free. Feel free to. If not, no worries. Where are you from, Law and Order? Are you guys having a good day? Where are you guys all from? Oh. This ASMR is really relaxing. My neck is stiff right here. You guys ever get that? When your neck is stiff. The the bone. It wants to adjust itself. I learned how to make ASMR, AI ASMR tonight. My Insta. I have no idea. I'm never on there. You want to find me, you gotta come here. You can email me if you want. I have Snapchat. You can do that. Oh. I feel like my rib is out or something. I need to see the chiropractor tomorrow. I have no idea. It's a good question. I don't know what my idea is. Just email me. Email me your snap. TeulaRose@gmail. TEULA. Rose, like a flower. Gmail. That's probably the best way to do it. Because I have no idea right now. I need to see the chiropractor tomorrow. Just feel so sore all day. Teula Rose, TEULA. Rose, ROSE, @gmail. And then just tell, like, if you have a different name than law department, then just say, hey, it's law department 04. Like, give me your handle if it's a different email name. You know? Okay. I'll connect with you. I can't look at it right now, though. I got too many things going. The ASMR on the other phone, and then this one if I don't want to, like, mess up the live. I'll check it tomorrow, though. Unless you need it right away. Okay. It hid your message. I'm gonna hide that so that you guys just be careful to hide your personal info on the chat. YouTube is hiding it. But I see it. So I'm gonna hide it now. I'm not gonna read it out loud. But I see it. And feel free to ask me anything you wanna ask me here. Feel free. Seeing if my neck will crack. So sore today. I'm gonna try to sleep like this tonight. You're from India? Nice. A lot of you guys are like awake right now on the other side of the world. It's late here for me. Oh, my wrist just popped. I wonder if that's why my thumb's been sore lately. Like, it popped big. It really popped big. I do, but I never go on there, so you'd be wasting your time, because I don't go on my Insta. Like, at all. I haven't been on it in like, I don't know, last year. In the last year. Because I have like 3 TikTok accounts, 3 YouTube accounts, 1 Flip account, 1 Rumble account. I have all my emails. Then I have Telegram. I have WhatsApp. I have Snapchat. I have Discord. Like, it's a lot. You know what I mean? And I have Facebook and I have Insta, but I'm never on that. So, I don't want to promise that I'll be on there and then not be on there. You know? Stretch my arm out. Feels better if you stretch. The spoon, the wooden spoon sounds so cool in the background, huh? This muscle's so sore. Yeah, I need to wake up early tomorrow and see my chiropractor. It's just locked up. You guys ever feel like that? Oh. Oh. So my friend Alicia, she's ASMR on TikTok. If you want to support an ASMR artist, she's really good. She's cool. She liked my AI pancakes that I made for ASMR. I just started that new channel. Stretch, stretch. Get all the bones stretched, you know? Oh, nice. I feel like my muscle just popped. Something just popped. Did you guys hear it? It felt like it was in the socket. A tendon or something. Gotta use it or you lose it. Yeah. What's going on with you guys? Where are you guys from? What part of the world are you guys from? Stretch. Stretch the arm. Can feel that all the way into my forearm right now. It's like tight in the forearm by the wrist. Roll. I think I'm ready to go to sleep. God, I'm so tight right there, though. It's like the first rib and the the second rib is out. Because it's going pop pop. Can you hear it? That's crazy. I don't know what you're saying, Isaac and Isabel. I don't know what you were saying, my friend. Is that Russian? I'm sending you love from California. That I do know. Whatever you're saying. Stretching the arm. It's not clicking now. Let's do it again. It's not clicking as much. I gotta get up and use the restroom for a second. Stay, don't go. Don't go. It's not gonna take me that long. But I've been on lives like for hours, so I do need to use a restroom break. Just listen to the ASMR. Shit. Sorry. I'll get my tripod too. drink some water real quick. Hands. Alright, let's come back. I'm coming back. I'm coming back. Okay. Yawning. I'm about to do a sleep live for sure. At this rate. We'll see how long I stay awake. There we go. Okay. So you guys can see me good. There's no lagging to the camera. All of that. Right. Let's give her a gift. I'm gonna give my ASMR artist on TikTok a gift. There she goes. She's gonna get it right now.
Thank you, Ship Shop.
She's like, thank you, Ship Shop. That's me. I'm ShipShop33GG on my TikTok.
Thank you, Ship Shop.
I'm Happy's ASMR on TikTok too. Well, they took the send button off. You just hit return and it hits it. Interesting. I didn't finish my dinner. I'm gonna have like a bite of meatloaf right now.
Thank you. Thank you.
Whole Foods. Whole Foods food. They cook it. They have like a buffet at Whole Foods. It's good. Vegetables. I got vegetables, meatloaf, and some mac and cheese. So, anyway. I really need to go to the car too to get something, but stretching my neck.
mustard. That's so melody. Sorry. Alla Elizabeth. Thank you, Checkerbox. And mustard. Thank you, Nancy. The connection is not stable today.
Oh, my neck is sore. Maybe I should sleep the other way. Like this.
Thank you.
Bring it over here.
Thank you, Chickenbox.
And make sure you guys don't fall.
It's working out, girl. Mr. Bond. Hey, Bond. Thank you.
Sharks and shit. This is 24%. Excuse me. I gotta charge some stuff. Charge this first. That's at 33%. That in.
Thank you. Thank you. No. Hello, Jeffrey. That's been so long. You mean again, Roblox? Thank you, Grace. Thank you, Grace. You're still awake, girl. Thank you, Grace. For a second. Like it's a dress. He's so unbelievable. Science. Depression. Like it's a dress. He's so unbelievable. Science. Depression. Like it's a dress. He's so unbelievable. Science. Depression. Thank you.
Oh, my neck is jacked up.
So depression. Thank you, Mom.
Oops. Whoops. like the beach.
Good idea. It must be very relaxing. I believe. Very relaxing. Like a lap on the grassland. Ocean. I prefer mountains. Yeah. With the ocean views, right? That's perfect. Yeah, I also like mountains with rivers running through them. With falls.
I need a fucking aspirin so bad. I gotta go get one from the car. 'Cause this shit's... No bueno. aspirin. That was good. It's a good call because I'm not feeling good. Pain. The pain. It's just normal pain. It's not bad pain. But it's just not good. Everybody's gifting her tonight on TikTok.
Thank you, Velma.
Sleep live and ASMR. You know? Not bad. It's relaxing. I kind of want to watch a movie though to fall asleep to, but let's see how long I stay on this channel. On this TikTok. Oh. And that one's being charged. I gotta check my battery levels on everything. Because everything is like... Too many fucking wires. Who's hoping? This one. What just happened? I don't want to unplug this one.
This is a Prince in disguise, you know. Prince. He tied the frog because of the witches. The witch. Because... Thank you, Papa. Thank you, Papa.
Too many wires.
The witch's bell, right? Why the witch turned the hermit into frog, not other animals.
Alright, that's enough of that. I think it's sucking my juice because she's alive. I'm live.
A renowned psychic known as the Living Nostradamus believes Selena Gomez and Benny Blanco share a powerful emotional bond, but not the spiritual destiny of soulmates. While he sees strength and healing in their connection, he warns that long-term energetic differences and outside pressures could challenge their future. Despite this, Selena and Benny continue wedding planning, with Selena opting for personal touches over tradition. A renowned psychic known as the Living Nostradamus believes Selena.
And tariffs have always been used against us, and I never understood. I used to sit back, as you know, China paid hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs when I was president, but until then, China never paid anything, and they really did a big number on us from the standpoint of trade. But we are using tariffs now for our benefit, and we have now close to $10 trillion.
Today we're diving into the messy, painfully staged reunion that blew up in their faces, the fake smiles, the secret motives, and the fans who are finally done. Grab your popcorn, because this one's spicy. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, and let me know in the comments, do you think this, love, is the real deal or just a business move? So here's what went down. Justin and Hailey were spotted together again after weeks, some say months, of cryptic social media posts, rumors of divorce, and countless sources claiming they're living separate lives. But boom, out of nowhere, paparazzi photos pop up. The Biebers strolling hand in hand, Hailey with her forced giggle, Justin looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. Seriously, did y'all see those pics? His eyes said, "Help me," louder than words ever could. Fans immediately clocked the awkward body language, Justin walking ahead, Hailey clinging to his arm, that stiff kiss that looked more like a photo shoot than a real moment. The reunion screamed damage control. But why did they do this? Well, let's connect the dots. Justin's new music is flopping, and Hailey's Road brand has been under fire for low sales and copycat scandals. Insiders say their PR teams cooked up this happy couple outing to distract from the negativity. Think about it. Every time divorce rumors spike, boom, they get snapped at a brunch date. Every time Hailey's business faces backlash, suddenly she's kissing Justin on Instagram. It's like clockwork, the same old script. And this time, fans aren't buying it. People flooded the comments calling it pathetic, fake, and embarrassing. Some even said, "We've seen better acting on TikTok." Let's talk about the huge backlash. Fans are exhausted with the Biebers, love PR. Even hardcore believers admit they're tired of feeling manipulated. Some think Justin's mental health is suffering. He looks drained, disconnected, while Hailey always seems camera ready. Critics say she's clinging to this marriage because it's her biggest claim to fame, while Justin stays out of the spotlight, fueling rumors that he's trying to escape. Twitter, TikTok, Reddit, it's all the same. People are done with the perfect couple act. The more they push it, the faker it feels. It's giving Kardashian-level stunt, and the Biebers just can't pull it off anymore. Now here's the spiciest part. Rumors say this reunion might be their last. Some sources claim Justin wants out, and that this happy couple facade is just to soften the blow before they announce a split. Apparently, contracts, NDAs, and brand deals are at play. Divorce is expensive, especially when your image is tied to married perfection. But guess what? Fans say they'd respect Justin more if he just walked away. And don't forget Selena stans are watching like hawks. Any sign of a breakup, they're ready with the memes and "I told you so's." So, what do you think? Is this the end of Justin and Hailey's forced fairy tale? Was the reunion real, or just another PR bandage for a relationship that's already broken behind the scenes? Drop your hottest takes below. I'm reading all your comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because this drama is far from over. I'll be back with more spicy updates. Until then, keep sipping that tea.
Hollywood did want it to be shown. P. Diddy scandal is deeper than you think. Epstein did not run everything on his own. If you wanted to have full control of the votes of a senator, you get them on film at an Epstein Island. The CIA's Book of Dirty Tricks had these very things. It's this secret Luciferian pact that they make that is how they get power. And it happens all the time. Years ago when Catch Me If You Can came out, my mom was like, Paul, it's a really good thing you're a good kid.
Right.
I said, why is that? She said, because you'd be the best con artist I've ever known. Right?
It's a good thing for a mother to say.
Exactly. I'm like, is that a
Good
compliment?
sense, yeah.
Back years later, another compliment. I was, well, I'll tell you that one later because this story is awesome. So I grew up in Utah. You know, I was fairly, I'm going to say, restricted in my religious upbringing.
Mormon?
Yeah, I grew up LDS, and no coffee, no tea, no alcohol, no anything, and that leads into some stuff later. Strip clubs, all the stuff that you have to do when you're in these places, right? There's all off limits, everything, and so, I was a pretty good kid growing up. I wanted to be successful, and my dad at 14 years old, I said, Dad, how do I be rich, right? How do I make money? And he gave me 2 books. He gave me How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie,
Right.
which you can use those principles however you want to, as you know, right?
They're still all perfectly, they still all apply to this very day.
You can apply the How to Win Friends and Influence People, good, bad, wherever you want to take it. You know, it's all about creating that trust, creating those relationships, and then he gave me an audio program by Brian Tracy, The Psychology of Achievement, that helped me realize that my thoughts were things that I could create whatever I wanted around me. So it was super powerful, and it changed my perception of the world and what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be a surgeon. In fact, when I was a kid, I was beat up by some kids, and I went home and I told my mom, I says, I want to be a brain surgeon. She says, well, why are you a brain surgeon? I'm so excited. And I says, because I want to fix how people think, right? And then later I changed it to being a heart surgeon. I wanted to be a pediatric cardiologist. And because I think I realized that the only way to really change how people think is to change, from a heart space. And then I got in a major car accident, severed all the tendons in my hand. This was literally 2 months before taking the MCAT. And I couldn't, they didn't know if I'd have the dexterity to be a surgeon. They says, well, you can go into business. And, he actually said, you can be a regular doctor, Paul. I said, I want to be a regular anything, right? If I'm going to be a garbage man, I'm going to own the dump. Right. That's just how I think, right? So moving forward, bringing me into the undercover work, one of the things that really impacted me is my early 20s. I had a mentor. He said, Paul, he said, you should get involved in charity work. I think he knew that, I could go either direction on things. And I said, well, that's why I want to be rich, is so that I can be charitable. He goes, no, he said, start donating now. A big percentage of your money and a big percentage of your time. And I believe that's part of what brought me to where I mean, how does somebody become a partner, let alone a founder of a 20, 30, 40 billion dollar investment fund like I am? You're not a University of Utah dropout. The only way that I can understand it, because that's what I am, right? The only way that I can understand it is that I made that decision in my early 20s that I was going to contribute. You can call it karma, you can call it God, you can call it gifts of the universe, call it whatever you want to. There's a higher power very interested in us contributing positively to the world. And so I truly believe that the masses...
Get to the fucking point.
Locals, but you're not really telling the local law enforcement you're coming in until you have to, because otherwise you're not getting anywhere. Are you going in there, and are these guys that are with you armed? You know what I'm saying? Like, so they're going in unarmed.
Yeah, unarmed.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is. And that's the reason why guys like Joseph. So Joseph is double black belt Krav Maga. He's actually, I don't know what his black belt is now, but...
And that's great, but if the other guy's got an AK-47...
Exactly, then you're done.
Yeah.
If you're... Really, our strength is knowing what to say at the right time. If they knew who we were in an instant, we would have been gone. We had no firepower to be able to handle it if things went bad. In fact, interesting on that. So we were in Mexico City, and we had identified some rings that were trafficking their kids in from Tenancinga which is a really, really dangerous part of Mexico, trafficking them into a place called into Puerto Vallarta. And so we had followed that ring, and so we flew into Puerto Vallarta, and I had spent almost 4 months in undercover. I would go in for a weekend, connect with some traffickers, fly out, go back in, connect with some traffickers, and it was a cesspool of trafficking going on. We had identified 48 children. We had identified 9 traffickers that were, and we needed to figure out how, if we just take down one of them, the rest of them just disappear, and we lose those kids. So we have to stay in undercover long enough to find out everybody who's involved, get them to bring everybody to the same place at the same time. One of the traffickers, we called him Scarface. He had this huge scar that was going all the way down his neck, and I had connected with him through a taxi driver who had worked with the cartel down there, who had introduced me to this guy and got us in that ring. And this guy was selling a lot of, he was a bad dude.
Right.
And it was about 4 days before the sting. I didn't trust any of the local police at all. We were so high level with the traffickers there that I'm sure that a lot of them were on payroll with the traffickers. And so we flew 2 federal agents from Mexico City to come and help us set up the final parts of the sting. And we're there in the hotel, and I'm calling each one of the guys that all of the traffickers I connected with over the years, or over the last 4 months, sorry. And I got a hold of all of them except for Scarface. His phone was dead. And I'm like, guys, we have to get this guy. He is incredibly dangerous, and he has to go to prison forever. So I don't have his phone number. I don't have the taxi driver's phone number, but I know the area that I first met him. So you guys, the 2 federal agents, stay here in the hotel. I'm going to go out with a couple of my guys. We're going to go out to the dark area. We're going to reconnect with him through the same sources we did in the beginning. So we're out there. We're talking to some, taxi drivers in this super dark area of town. I says, hey, do you know this guy? Oh, yeah, I know him. Hey, have him call me. Tell him Pablo's in town. Tell him, I'll give you $100 if he calls me. He'll be happy because we're having the party, and he'll want to know about it. Okay. So boom, sure enough, he calls me, and he says, hey, meet me at the boardwalk. Okay, we'll meet you there. I give $100 to the taxi driver, and we're sitting there at the boardwalk waiting for him. We're sitting, waiting, and all of a sudden, just like what happened in Tijuana, from all directions. Now this time we had 10 officers, full automatic weapons on us. On the ground. We're like, shit, okay. So we're getting handcuffed. Now, I know that half the cops in that area are dirty, right? So we're getting handcuffed, and I'm thinking, okay, I don't know if these are dirty cops, I don't know if they're clean cops. Either way, hopefully they take us to the jail. And I would rather spend 3 days in a Mexican prison at this point. I had worked long enough on this case. I would rather spend 3 days in a Mexican prison than to lose those 48 kids, right? And so they throw us on the ground. They're handcuffed us. I can show you some videos later. I mean, the handcuffs were so tight. I still have nerve damage. If I just touch right here, this all just tingles, right? All the way up my hand. And so they throw us on the ground, and they pick us up. They put us in the back of the police pickup trucks. The ones that have the benches on the side, and the guys are holding all the guns there right on the side. And we're laying there on the ground. We've got cop cars in the front and the back. And I'm thinking, okay, they'll take us to the jail. The 2 federal officers that are at my hotel, they'll see we're gone after a bit, and they'll find out about it. Maybe they can be our phone call. I don't know. And they'll come and they'll say, hey, this is a federal case. We need to take over, and nobody will know, right? We'll be good. Well, they don't take us to the jail. They start taking us out in the desert, right? They start taking us to, with no lights, this is where shit goes down. Right? And now at this point, I'm as scared for the police as I am for us. So here's why. Let me paint the picture of Joseph. Joseph is one of only 10 that I know of Krav Maga trainers that's qualified to train the trainers. And for the audience who doesn't know Krav, regular martial arts and karate, jiu-jitsu, bow to your sensei, 3 points when you kick him in the leg, right? It's a sports type of defense. You don't train against kick him in the balls, poking their eyes out. Krav Maga is brick to their head, go home to your family. Israeli Special Forces, hand-to-hand combat, most lethal on earth. Every move, they don't talk, they don't see, they don't walk, they don't breathe, they're done, right? I can take away a gun faster than they can pull the trigger every single time. We've trained hundreds and hundreds of integrations of every single angle just so that you have muscle memory on everything. Well, my trainer was Joseph, one of the best in the world. Qualified, and I think he's the only non-Israeli qualified to go back to Israel and train them. Well, Joseph was with me, me and Jimmy and Joseph. Joseph was there, and he had had 3 tequilas at dinner that night, and he was a little bit tipsy. So when they threw us on the ground and they were handcuffing us, he's laying there. He's like, I'm gonna fucking kill him. I said, bro, you can't kill him, right? We don't know if they're good cops. He says, they're bad cops. I know they're bad cops, right? They pick us up and they throw us in the back of the pickup truck, and they start going out of the city. Joseph's getting madder by the second. Me and Jimmy are like, Joseph, shut up. We've got M16s to our heads. We're both handcuffed right now. Shut up. Don't. He's like, you guys better let us go now. We're gonna take you all out, right? Shut up. So finally, the truck stops. They get out. The police come back. We've got a guy with a couple guys with guns. We've got a guy with batons. They're pulling us out, and one of them says to me, he says, "You're asking for Scarface?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "I arrested him myself for selling children." He said, "Now you're going to tell me everything." And I said, "I'm really happy you said that." Right. I said, now, because that told me they were good cops, right? I said, "I'm really happy you said that. Now I can tell you who I really am." I said, "We have 2 federal agents at our hotel room." He goes, "Bullshit." He says, "No." I said, "Give me my phone. We'll call him right now." He says, "You're not getting your phone. You're going to tell me everything." He's got a baton. And Joseph's like, "It's going down." I said, "Joseph, shut up. These guys are good cops, right? Just shut up, right?" And I said, "Guys, before anything happens," and I'm handcuffed, right? In my pants, my undercover pants, I had, you remember those pants where you can zip off the shorts, so they turn into shorts, long pants to shorts. It has a zipper kind of halfway down the knee, right? So I says, "Guys, somebody has to unzip part of that." I had a hidden pocket that was inside of it. I says, "Somebody has to unzip that right now. And so somebody unzipped it, and inside of it, I had a laminated card. It was my picture. It was signed by the head of the federal police. Basically, if they don't give me their car, their guns, they go to jail, right? It's the best get out of jail free card anywhere. He looks at it and he's like, takes it to the chief of police. It's up in the front car, and he comes out, shaking. They unhandcuff us faster than we were handcuffed, all 10 of them. But their hand, we're mostly we're so sorry. We're so sorry. I said, "No, this is how you should treat people who are buying children in your country." I said, "But you should take them out in the desert and beat them up. Kill them, whatever you have to do. I'm fine with that. They're wasting my oxygen." I said, "But I don't know who to trust." I said, "If anybody of your 10 agents, if anybody says anything to anybody that I just showed you that card, your entire department's under investigation. Do you understand?" He goes, "Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." So 4 days later, the largest child rescue mission in Mexico history with the 48 children. But it was a close call.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think I probably still would have been like, yeah, we got to go.
Yeah,
one of these guys is gonna talk. They're gonna say something to somebody. You know what I'm saying? You could end up getting, the cartel go down, just gun down everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very risky.
So of course that's the last time I've ever entered Puerto Vallarta.
Right.
Most of these cities.
I do have a question.
Sure.
So everybody's seen the movie Taken, right? So how are they getting a hold of, let's say, the product? Like, in that movie, of course those are teen girls, but how are they? Are these guys going into a very poor community and going to their families and saying, "Look, you got too many kids. Let me this 9-year-old or 11-year-old. Let me give you $200 and I'll just take her. She's a burden to you. We're gonna have her go and she's gonna work on a farm with puppies." And all the bullshit that they say to justify what you're about to do, so you can feel good about it. Or she's gonna go live with a rich family or whatever they tell them. And here's $200 from the rich family and whatever justification they need to give you or their family. Or is it they pull up in a van, throw a bag over their head, yank them in the van, and hit them with a taser, and they wake up in a city somewhere, in a warehouse somewhere, chained to a bed? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm wondering where are they coming from?
Yeah, well, and the majority of children don't come from a healthy family. People will leave Sound of Freedom and they'll be like, "Oh, I want to do something. I want to go undercover. I want to help rescue kids." Well, the worst thing you can do is go to Mexico and try to do a child rescue mission. You're going to get shot.
Yeah.
Right. You're probably going to get arrested. The best thing you can do is go home and hug your children. People are like, "Well, how does hugging my children help it?" Well, creating that strong nuclear family is everything. The majority of children who are being taken to other countries and sold like what we saw undercover. The majority of those children come from broken homes, runaways, a broken foster care program. It's a very, very broken foster care program. And in doing so, these kids are abused. Now, here's the other thing that's super important to understand for parents of affluent or even, healthy families in any way. The majority of children who are being sold for these unthinkable acts sleep in their own beds at night, and their parents have no idea. Okay? Yeah. So for example, we in third world countries and even here in the U.S. For example, we were in Acapulco, and one of the little kids, she was 12. She just turned 13 years old. Her babysitter was her aunt. Her aunt was working with the traffickers. Her aunt was babysitting her and showing her pictures, and her aunt told her, listen, you're going to lose your virginity sometime anyway. Lose it to one of these rich Americans. You'll earn $500. She was charging us $5,000 for this child, right? And the mother had no idea what was going on. This happens a lot. In fact, you need a relationship with your children where they can very comfortably come to you and say when something's off. Be able to say, hey, Dad, I don't like it when you tell me I have to hug Uncle Harry because, he touches me weird and he tells us we should have secrets outside of you. Or I don't like going to this friend's house because her brother is taking pictures of us when we're changing. And now he tells us he's going to use those pictures and send them around the school if we don't do other things with him as friends later. Or I don't like this babysitter. She's showing us pictures, tells us that we should trust her more than you. These are grooming behaviors, and 92% of the abuse of children comes from familial members, somebody in their family, somebody they know, and some of those are actually being trafficked. They're being using monetary exchange for what they're doing with the children, which is just horrific. Either way, monetary or not, it's still bad for the kids, right? And there's some things that, like right now, there's something that parents need to be aware of we call it sextortion, right? Where you get something and then you control the victim. That sextortion can happen not only with a known predator, but somebody your 13-year-old thinks is another 13-year-old that's really not online, convinces them to send some pictures and then uses that as leverage to do more and more and more. Or there's actually AI programs today that are what they call nudify programs, that you can literally take any actress, any actor, anywhere, and boom, take off their clothes, and it gives you a realistic picture of them. Dude, those programs are being used to do the same thing with adolescents. And then using that picture that wasn't even a real picture in the first place to create this extortion type of a thing and convince them to do other stuff. And so this happens a lot. Now, yes, there are children taken from healthy families. I didn't say wealthy families, I said healthy ones. This is usually in Latin America. And I don't want to get political here, but I will say this. The last number of years, there's been 130,000 children, unaccompanied minors, children coming across the open border. And I've served a lot in Latin America, and almost every single day in cities throughout Latin America, children are being taken from a healthy family. They don't have the resources to follow up on what's going on. And just like what you see in the Sound of Freedom movie, they're controlling these children, like this little boy who, you don't want something bad to happen to your sister, do you? You're going to do exactly what we say. And these kids are drugged, they're abused, and they're controlled through fear. I know where your mother lives. I know where your sister goes to school. And less than 2 or 3 weeks after they are taken, they can show up on the border with a name tag and an address, with a phone number and address of their new, quote, sponsor. And those sponsors don't have FBI background checks. There's no guarantee that they have any connection to that child whatsoever. And because of the fact that remember my very first mission, it was going to cost them $25,000 to get a little American down here for the demand. They now realize that they could take the supply to the demand, bringing it across the border, and the United States is the #1 producer and consumer of child pictures in the world. And because of that, it's kind of a gateway into it. These guys that they get addicted to hardcore pictures, and they need something harder to have that same fix. Pretty soon they're fantasizing about something they wouldn't have even thought was attractive 5 years ago, and then they're acting out on these horrific fantasies, and it's creating a tsunami of demand that a lot of it's coming from the United States. On the Haiti rescue, I had done a bunch of deep cover work in Haiti, and we were tired of the trafficking continuing to come up. We wanted to cut the head off the dragon, right? So, following up, finding it really where the traffickers wanted. It culminated in this sting operation that was on this beach area, and we had a private yacht. One of my investors in my investment fund had said, "Hey, Paul, if you ever want to use my yacht for one of your things, you just let me know." And so this was an opportunity because we had a high-level celebrity that wanted to see it as well, and we're like, okay, we have to keep him away from the traffickers, but we have to let him see it. And so we had this yacht literally docked right off the coast, and this nice yacht, and this 52-foot wide catamaran. He toured around the world in this thing, and I had done a bunch of deep cover, showed up with traffickers. They brought about 34 kids with them, but they represented hundreds and hundreds of more. So we were there, and they figured out. So I told the traffickers, we're going to go see the big boss out on the yacht. No guns, no knives, no problem, right? So we take off all of their weapons and stuff. We get on this dinghy, go out there, have our undercover cameras there recording what they're saying. Had the big boss was kind of hanging out on a couch with a beautiful woman waving him, and we have our Navy SEALs there. Captured all that we needed to. Get back on the dinghy, goes back to the beach. We're in this enclosed area in this house. Put all the children in a safe place. They're in a little cabana. They've got ice cream and drinks, etc. We're there negotiating with the traffickers about what's going on, waiting for the federal agents to come. And at this point, we had a guy who used to be a pretty high position at Homeland Security, who was now working with the foundation at the time, and he was on the yacht with us, and he said, "Hey, I want to." He had convinced whoever was in charge at the time that he wanted to come and actually be part of the sting and see how that works. So when we put the traffickers back on the dinghy and start heading back, he gets on the boat with us. I'm like, bro, this guy hasn't had any field experience, but okay, he's man in charge. He was now the new president of that, whatever. So they go back into the beach. We get out. We're there negotiating with the traffickers. Boom, the agents come in from all sides. Boom, blowing the door, bust in the door, and then we're throwing on the ground. We're getting handcuffed. They run out of handcuffs. They had so many traffickers there. They run out of handcuffs, and so they zip tie me and him. And so I've got not little ones, a big fat. I can get out a little hand, and they're behind my back. So I'm zip tied back there. And the agent who was on top of me didn't know I was a good guy.
Right.
And so he's patting me down. And usually on these rescue missions, on the day of the sting, I'll send all of my luggage and everything to the airport beforehand. So when they throw me in the police car, they take us, instead of going to the jail, they take us right to the airport. Boom, we're out of country. Well, in order to do that, I keep my passport on an inner pocket. It's the only time I ever have a real identification of me is on the day of the sting itself. So I got this passport in my inside pocket, and this agent didn't know I was a good guy. Throws us on the ground and puts zip ties on us, and then patting me down, feels my passport on the inside, goes in and gets my passport out and throws it on the evidence pile, all the trafficker stuff. I'm like, where's my real passport? I can't say anything. The traffickers are right there, and then they pick us up, they take us out, and boom, I get hit on the side of the face by a rock. And all of a sudden there's all this gravelly rocks. The locals had found out that there was one of these parties going on. Right? They were pissed. And so they were throwing rocks at us because they, of course, didn't know that we were good guys either, right? And this federal agent did. And so there was a Haitian federal agent. So he takes us out, boom, puts us in the back of a police car where the head of the federal police was in there. He's our friend. He knows us, right? And boom, the locals are like, boom, 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 pounding on the outside of the car. I'm there with this former HSI guy, and he had never been in this kind of stuff before, and he's pissing his pants, right? He's like, boom, pounding on the back of the car. Boom, he pulls out of there and gets to safety, away from all the crowd and everything else. He says, okay, I've got handcuff keys. And I'm like, oh, you know what? We don't have handcuffs. We've got zip ties. He said, well, I don't have a knife or pliers on me. You have to deal with that. I said, we have a bigger problem than that. I said, My passport is back there on the evidence pile. The agent just pulled it out and put it up there. He says, well, we can't go back there. That's a war zone. I said, I know. He said, we have to wait until it all comes back to the police headquarters. So we drive to the police headquarters. With the plane's waiting for me. We had a private plane to get us out of there at the time. And finally, all of the stuff comes. Boom, we get on the plane, and it was beautiful. We get back to the U.S. 2 weeks later.
You got your passport.
Yeah, they gave it to me because we waited at the police center.
Okay,
So we got
so
the passport. Yeah, we waited there at the police center. Boom, got the passport. Got on the plane. Got back to the U.S. 2 weeks later, we find out that 4 corrupt federal judges let the traffickers out of prison and let all the kids back out. I mean, they're some of the kids were in safe places, whatever. But now these traffickers are still out there with some of the other ones, and their excuse of why they let them out is that the real bad guy got away. The real bad guy was that American that was here trying to set up the party. This is what the federal judges were saying, right? But it wasn't Paul Stone, it wasn't Paul Steele, it wasn't Paul Black. It was Paul Hutchinson. What happened is I didn't know this, but they had taken my passport before I got it back, and somebody had entered it in with all of the evidence. So they literally had my real information.
Right.
So at this point, Paul Hutchinson becomes, the equivalent of Haiti's Most Wanted, right? I'm like, now I can't ever go. I didn't ever want to go back anyway, right? So we had to fly the First Lady, the head of the federal police, the Attorney General, flew them to the U.S. I presented all of the stuff together with some of the operators there of exactly what happened with that operation. Every single text and stuff back and forth with these guys. And the head of the federal police, he stands up. He said, I don't care if I lose my job. I don't care if I lose my life. I'm going to fix the corruption in my country. And they went back in. They rearrested the traffickers, took down these 4 federal judges, and by then I'm done. Sadly, that officer was the one that got high enough where the assassination of the president, the burning of the things in the streets, a lot of that was a power struggle that we opened up this Pandora's box to expose everybody who is doing the most nefarious things in the Caribbean, operating from Port-au-Prince, Haiti. And so it got worse and worse and worse. That operator ended up getting killed. And I was, the very last time I said, okay, I'll go to Haiti one more time. I'll go for his funeral. And so I was at his funeral, and I'm back at the airport getting ready to leave, last time in Haiti, and in the line behind me is this beautiful woman. And I tell people meeting a beautiful Colombian actress is kind of cool, but when she's donating her time at an orphanage in Haiti, that's amazing. And I found out that she had been doing a medical charity mission and working with some of the kids that we had rescued. She had no idea who I was because I had been doing undercover, but she knew about the foundation. She even knew about the movie because she was Colombian. She knew about that big rescue mission that we did in Colombia, etc. And so we spoke all the way until the plane came. She was in the chair right behind me on the way back on the plane. We talked the whole way home, and she's now my wife. And so that was the most beautiful part of coming out of coming out of Haiti, is to meet the woman of my dreams. I'm going to tell you the side story. This is funny as crap. So at the time, she was. Have you ever heard of Henry Cavill? Henry Cavill is the actor who plays Superman, right? So the Batman Superman, he's the good-looking one, not the one that fell off the horse and got naked. That was a long time ago, right? Yeah. So, but Henry Cavill, the GQ Superman. So Henry was at her work.
Have they had an unattractive Superman? Is there an unattractive one?
This is more recent.
More last two have been pretty over the top.
Exactly. So he was at Vanessa's work almost every day, right, for about 3 months. They started to date. Nothing big in public, but they went on like 3 or 4 dates, and then she met me. Still right. Superman's girlfriend. There's my mic drop right there. Not rescuing the kids, building a company, but now we run healing retreats. She's the executive director of the Child Liberation Foundation, which helps with the rehabilitation of the kids and programs to keep them safe, etc.
And this is, and are you still? I'd say you're no good for undercover work.
I had to stop. Yeah, yeah. What happened is the movie Sound of Freedom was dead in the water. 5 years after it came out, I mean, after we finished it, there was no distribution whatsoever. And my wife, my daughter, the kids were like, you know what, Dad, you're good at doing this undercover work, but if we're not going to create awareness with the movie, we maybe need to have you go public. And I pushed against it for a long time. I said, you know, this is more dangerous for you guys now if that happens. If I go public at all. And I went on my first podcast and got shared tens of thousands. It was just a small podcast, but he got shared tens of thousands of times within the first couple of weeks, and he only had a few thousand followers. And so, you know, and then it ended up gaining some pretty good traction. So I got on another podcast and another one, and less than 2 months later, Angel Studios picked up the contract on Sound of Freedom, and then it became a global success. And then I've had the opportunity to be on a lot of bigger podcasts with Soft White Underbelly and Jordan. There's a bunch of really big ones on there. Mark Leda, yeah, it was in March just 3 weeks ago, so it hasn't come out yet. But
where did you do the podcast?
with Mark,
Yeah.
it was in his studio. It was in Los Angeles.
Was it big? So when I did his podcast, it was on. It was on Skid Row.
Yeah, he's moved it. It's a little bit.
Yeah,
well, it's
yeah.
actually it's
Not far.
It's not far. It's downtown LA. It's a secure area, but it's not on Skid Row like
Yeah,
what he had
it was
before.
rough. It was
Yeah.
rough. I mean, you could hear the sirens in the back, people screaming outside, the whole thing. It was rough. And I was joking because I had watched a couple of the videos prior to that. Like my wife watches them all the time. I just can't. But you could hear the sirens and people screaming in the background on the videos, and I thought, well, he's got like background sounds he puts in there. No, these are two junkies screaming outside the door and an ambulance going by or the police. So when I was doing it, he was like, my God, and I remember he had me stop a few times, and I was like, well, I thought you wanted that. He's, yeah, this is a little bit much. Yours isn't that kind of, but he's so good. Like the quality, the everything. He's such a professional, a perfectionist, and kind of like he's one of those guys that, I always say, like yourself, it's, like somebody has to work at the food bank. Yeah, I'm not doing it. I'm not going to do it, but somebody needs to. And I'm like, thank God for those guys, because I can't do it. Like, but he would, and you could see like everybody knew him down there. He's amazing. I'm super impressed by him.
Yeah.
For some reason, I don't know why.
No, he's built a huge audience.
Yeah. Well, it's not just that. It's that I think he's just doing something like, it's kind of the same thing. He made a bunch of money. I don't need to do anything else. And I've taken this one endeavor. I'm going to do this the rest of my life because it needs to be done. It's like,
yeah.
Shining
Shining that light in the darkness.
Yeah.
My wife is doing some, as an actress and also working on some of her producer stuff. She's doing some things called hidden heroes that people who were just kids who had horrible things happen in their childhood that could very easily go into a life of crime, but chose a different path, chose to do something good, or people that did end up in a life of crime, that end up transforming their life, etc. So, and everybody has a story. Everybody has, all of us have got some things in our past that we're not proud of, or things that were difficult, things that were painful, etc. And if we allow that to dictate our future, then we're never going to have humanity heal from the toxicity that we're in right now. And so I honor people who are shining that light in the darkness. That's what we did with Sound of Freedom. Is people didn't want to talk about it. 5 years ago, the average person couldn't listen to something like this, couldn't have a conversation around the dinner. It's even hard right now. It's somewhat palatable by saying, okay, let's as adults talk about this. Where is it coming from, and what do we need to do to fix it? I can tell stories all day long, these dangerous situations, and people get excited about whatever. But the truth is, we've got to identify how to eradicate child trafficking, and that's not going to happen by just doing undercover work. I realized after 10 years of undercover missions, I looked at the numbers and I realized that there were more children being sold today than there was 10 years ago. And I thought, how is this possible?
Right.
We're putting all this money, all of this stuff into it, and nothing is making a significant difference. And I realized that every single time that we pull them out of this horrific position, they're left a vacuum. And if not enough was being done to fix the demand, then 20 more children were being sucked back into the deepest recesses of hell to fill that demand. And I looked at myself in the mirror and I said, okay, Paul, 10 years ago, sitting on that chair, looking eye level with that child, making that commitment that you would dedicate your life to eradicating that evil. Guess what, Paul? You're not doing a very good job, because there's more now than there were then. And so I had to take a step back and ask myself, where is this coming from? And I realized that that hurt people hurt other people, that almost every one of the traffickers had been trafficked themselves. Almost every one of the perpetrators have been a victim of something. In fact, 70% of incarcerated victims report that they had some sort of childhood trauma. And that's just the ones that report it. The average age of somebody talking about or even remembering that serious trauma, that sexual trauma, the average age of somebody remembering something like that as a child is 52 years old. That's my age. You know, I've raised my kids. I've built my career. And if you're holding on to that pain, it comes out in anger issues and addictions, and it comes out in anxiety and depression and all of these different things that control our life because of unresolved childhood trauma.
Yeah, in low security prisons, our in federal system are flooded with the nickname is chomas. I don't know if you ever heard the nickname. And it's funny because it's like 80 some odd over in the 80s, like 80 some odd percent of them will have report that they were abused as a child.
Yeah.
And and that's the ones that are saying it.
Yeah.
You know, who knows the ones that just don't recall or simply are saying or don't want to even acknowledge it, because I'm sure it's high. And most of the time it's also tends to be a correlation where it's like, oh, the guy was 9. Guess what he's interested in? 9-year-olds. You know what I'm saying? Like it's and so you think I always you would hear this and I would always say that's horrible that these guys were created and it's a horrible situation, but now you're a monster. You know what I'm saying? And you can't let monsters roam.
You can't.
It's unfair. I get it. I'm sorry, and I feel bad for you, and I know that you're a victim.
But it was a choice.
Yeah,
Almost every one of my undercover operators were abused as children themselves, right? And they instead of allowing that pain to push that pain on or even in any way justify passing that pain on to another, they chose to be protectors.
Yeah.
Right?
These guys are clearly going the wrong way.
Exactly.
I mean, there's something else you can do than for you to get into this.
But, and I tell people this, don't get me wrong when I say this. I am not a sympathizer of anyone who hurts a child. I've literally put my life in danger hundreds of times to ensure that they never hurt innocents again. However, if we're going to fix this problem, we need to understand where it's coming from. And we need, I found myself wishing that I had a time machine. I could go back in time before they ever crossed that line. If I just went back in time and pulled the kids out earlier, more kids would be sucked back in. I have to fix the demand. I have to fix the perpetrator. So if I had a time machine, I'd go back and I would sit down with him and say, okay, what is going on in your life that makes you think that in any way it's okay to walk down that road, to hurt a child? What is going on in your life? And what do we need to do to give you the help, the love, the healing that you need? Now, I'm going to go down a road and tell you what I believe the solution is. And a lot of people aren't going to believe this because we've been lied to for the last 50 years on this. But I think it is incredibly important for us to understand how there are some very powerful tools to help people break free of childhood trauma, addictions, depression, PTSD, and all of this toxicity that we're holding on to. We can break free of those. My company my first successful company in my early 20s, I touched on earlier, was a cognitive restructuring program It was a workbook, audio program, videos that help people change the negative habit patterns of thought. Created a lot of it when in our youth. 95% of our day is controlled by our subconscious mind. And so if and between the time of 0 to 8, 9 years old, our brain is in a state of what we call neuroplasticity. We're very, very impressionable. And so, which means good things. We can learn 3 languages at the same time. We can, at 3 years old, you can learn all this stuff, all of this information coming in that you can just absorb. Also, though, if something traumatic happens, an uncle does something horrific to this 7-year-old, 6-year-old, whatever else, a lot of times those things get embedded in that subconscious mind. Some of them so deep that you don't even remember them at all, where they came from. But they're coming out in addictive behaviors. They're coming out in low self-esteem and anxiety, depression, PTSD. They're coming out in anger issues. All of these things are being controlled subconsciously many times, these behaviors. Even later in life, if you want to create a new habit, meaning put something in your subconscious mind, it's going to take about 21 days of being very consistent at doing the right thing long enough in order for that to stick. So if you're driving your car, most of that, you're hitting your brake, hitting your gas, that's coming from your subconscious mind. Your conscious mind is able to make the phone calls, have a conversation, etc. Your subconscious is driving, your life at this point. Well, moving forward, traditional therapy, even the things like what we did with my company, we had 12 weeks with a personal coach, 1 to 2 hours a day, to be able to create real lasting change in something that was so deeply ingrained. And it was thousands of dollars and a lot of work. Fast forward, about 8 years ago, I was blowing through undercover operators. We had Green Berets with 300 missions in Afghanistan and Iraq, etc. They already had PTSD. One undercover mission with me, seeing a menu with children. Yeah,
they're done.
They're done. They're like, you know what? My PTSD. They couldn't go on another mission. And so I'm like, okay, do I bring back in this company I built in my 20s? So we have 50,000 people a month calling in off this infomercial. Do I bring this company back to life? I had sold it, but do I recreate something that cognitive restructuring, helping people deal with their PTSD before they go out? Because some of these guys, with that kind of PTSD already, they're ready to just unholster their weapon and end it right there. Being able to deal with that kind of darkness was super difficult. And so at this point, I got a phone call from 2 of my operators who had done a lot of missions, Jimmy and Andy. Jimmy had done 13 undercover missions with me, and Andy had done 22. They called me up on a joint call together, and they said, Paul, do you trust us? I said, yeah, I literally trust you with my life. We're out undercover. I'm in charge of talking. They're in charge of making sure I don't die. They said, you need to come to this transformational retreat. It'll be the most transformational retreat thing you've ever done in your life. And I said, that's saying something. I know Tony Robbins personally. I've literally walked across coals with him right by my side. I've done transformational stuff. You can't tell me this is the most transformational thing in my life. They said, this doctor has identified ways to help people overcome anxiety, depression, PTSD, addictions, childhood trauma in a matter of days, make real permanent change. I said, well, that's impossible. That was what my company did in my early 20s. We were some of the best of it. You can't tell me it can happen in days. They said, I said, tell me more about what this is. They said, it's a healing retreat. I said, I don't need to heal it. At the time, like I talked about earlier, 10 years ago, I wasn't Paul Hutchinson. I was Paul Anthony Hutchinson. I had these big parties at the center. It worked well undercover. It really did. I was in there with big ego. They said, yeah, Paul, you do need to heal. He says, you're on your second marriage, headed for a divorce. Your kids don't talk to you. You have these raging parties in your house every other weekend with half-dressed girls. Your energy is off. Yeah, you're doing great things, helping these kids undercover, but the rest of your life is a disaster. I'm like, okay, I trust you guys. What is it? What are they doing? And then they told me what this doctor was using. Said she is one of the best at understanding the proper use of psychedelics when it comes to trauma therapy and breaking free of these things. And then I'm like, wait, you guys know that I grew up in a church that said no mind-altering anything, no drugs and alcohol and even coffee and none of those things. And they said, well, look into it some more. And I had thought that things like psilocybin and mushrooms, I thought that they were as dangerous as powder because they were Schedule I drugs since the late 60s, right? Come to find out, it's safer than table sugar.
Yeah, I would say there's no way to overdose on that.
No way.
No way to.
There's never been a case of addiction.
Right.
There's never been a case of overdose, not one. And when
They're microdosing people with.
yeah, they're a little microdosing,
Yeah.
but what she did with me was a macro dose.
Okay.
It was a full send operation, right? And that this was the most positively impactful, transformational experience of my life. It was horrific and beautiful at the same time. Now, I'm not a fan whatsoever of somebody going to a rave party and getting high with their friends, right? This is, because here's what happens. Here's the science behind it in 20 seconds. That neuroplasticity that we talked about when you're a kid, between 0 and 7 years old, where your brain is just soaking in stuff and whatnot, that kind of ends after 8, 9 years old. You have a little bit of neuroplasticity, but the psilocybin creates a temporary state of neuroplasticity. Very, very, very impressionable in being able to work on things in your subconscious mind. So if you're at a rave party and you've got, orgy going on over here and rap music going over here and some guy yelling at his girlfriend over here, that environment in that state of neuroplasticity is damaging to your subconscious and what you're trying to create. However, if you're there with a trained facilitator, somebody who knows how to take that experience and mold it in the right way, and knows that you're dealing with some heavy trauma from 7 years old, knows that you're dealing with heavy trauma from being in Afghanistan, whatever it is, knows what you're working with, can then reform those things in that state of neuroplasticity. And for me, that very first one, the reason I say it was beautiful and horrific, what the facilitator and the medicine helped me to create was the purest sense of empathy, right? It took my empathy meter from almost nothing to off the charts. I could feel in every cell of my body, as if I was them, I could feel the pain that my children felt when I cheated on their mom. I could feel it as if I was them. And it was so hard. It was so dark. And then I could feel, on the opposite side, I could feel the joy as if I was them when the children that we rescued were reunited with their families. And then I could feel the pain of the family that broke up because some guy was at my party and slept with a cheerleader and now he broke up his wife. And the ripple effect of my words and my actions of everything in my life was so profound, so real, as if I was them, is what the medicine gave me in that first experience, that it changed everything. It changed everything about how I was showing up in my relationships and my marriage. And, it ended up being where I couldn't stay in that toxic relationship of that marriage. So I ended up getting divorced there, which opened things up to the most beautiful relationship of my wife that I met in Haiti. But after that, we decided, you know what, this stuff is so powerful, I'm going to look into it. I'm going to really research it, and became facilitators in it. And I went into the Attorney General in Utah. I said, listen, this is so powerful as helping people overcome addictions and PTSD and childhood trauma. It is so powerful, I want to bring it to Utah. You can either arrest me or tell me how to make it legal. And he said, maybe we should do the latter. And so we started working with some legislatures. Utah almost not only decriminalized, but almost became the first state to fully legalize the use of psychedelics when it came to trauma therapy and dealing with addictions and PTSD. But then our governor decided he was going to veto my bill. And so we decided, you know what, screw you, we're going to move out. So we moved everything to Latin America. But in the beginning, we worked only with vets who had PTSD, a lot of my operators. Then we moved to dealing with helping people who had severe childhood trauma and women who had 10, 20 years worth of therapy and nothing really worked. And then now we work exclusively with influencers. We've had some royalty and some world leaders and some business leaders, etc. Where if I can teach them how to release everything that doesn't serve them and learn how to lead from a place of the heart, that ripple effect of good can not only impact their countries and their companies, but hopefully can help change the laws where we can start using those to help people break free of things that may end up taking them down a darker road. So that's something that, some people are like, oh, that's new information. Do your research. It has to be done in the right environment. People can go to liberatinghumanity.com and get lots of information there on how the proper use of these tools and how you can use them to break free of those things in a legal environment.
We interviewed a guy who was in the army. Remember, he was a helicopter. He worked with helicopters. He was in Afghanistan. He was talking about, and he came here. He was talking about he was microdosing. Yeah. And he said it was helping. He said it was the only thing that had helped with his PTSD.
I'm curious. Okay, so you do whatever, like you take it, and then what do you do? Do you get like a therapy session, or what's that 24, 48?
Yeah. I'll tell you exactly how the whole thing works. Here's the proper way to do it. The non-proper way, get a bunch of mushrooms, go to a party. Yeah, what's up? That's the non-proper. Yeah.
No.
But even there are even facilitators in the U.S. that just have people come and, okay, here you go, here's your dose, have fun, work on your shit, look in the mirror and say good things about yourself, right? That works to a degree. But how ours works is this. Number one, when somebody signs up, now we're 6-day fully immersive, six night, usually 7 days, fully immersive transformational experiences, right? And so what happens is 2 weeks before they come, I spend about 15 to 30 minutes on the phone on a Zoom call, getting clear on their intention. Because if you just come and you have this window of opportunity of neuroplasticity, that if you're not really doing anything with it, you're not going to have the results, positively or negative. And you just go, oh, wow, everything looked really cool, right? But and we're talking about a macro dose. We're talking about 3+ grams, sometimes upwards of 7, 8 grams, depending on the person and what they're trying to create, etc. Now, a microdose, you take those 3 grams over a period of 30 days, right? So this is all in one experience. This is a full kingdom. This is why you need a facilitator there with you. And then, so 2 weeks before, I get super clear on their intentions. Everything in your life that you want to release, everything. And you don't have to tell me everything. I tell all the guys when I'm on the phone with them, I say, listen, 90% of the guys who come either currently have or recently have had a problem with addiction, either to alcohol or pictures. You don't have to tell me about it, but you need to admit to yourself if there are things that are controlling you in a way where you want to release it. Whatever addictive behaviors, this is a powerful opportunity for you to break free of them. So get clear. People spend more time planning their next vacation than they do planning their life. I say, over the next 2 weeks between now and the time that you come down, you need to spend more time planning your life, meaning your intentions for this event, than you would planning a vacation. So everything that you want to release, boom, 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 write all those things down. I'm too quick to anger with my kids, or I get triggered when my wife says this, or I get uncomfortable in this group of situation, or sometimes that thing that happened to me when I was 7 years old that comes up and it makes me feel uncomfortable. Whatever it is, right? Our visions of ourselves that we want to release, and then everything that we want to embrace. What's that 4.0? What's that 6.0 version of you look like? Because when we're down there, and those things are important for me to understand, because when you're in that state of neuroplasticity, I can put you in front of a mirror and have you go through your personal affirmations, and boom, they will stick. Instead of 21 days of, I'm a good person, I love myself, I'm wealthy, whatever it is, you can rewire some of those things in a very short period of time with the proper use of these tools and a facilitator. Then when people come down, we like to break them away from their city, from their people and everything. And ironically, remember how we talked about how dangerous Colombia was way back when I was first there? Colombia, especially the Medellin, Colombia area, was the most dangerous place on the planet in the 80s when Pablo Escobar was there. He was taken out mid-90s. Most of the cartel went up to Mexico, some went further south. Now that region is just coffee farms, chocolate farms, and rose farms. Most of the roses in the U.S. come from that region. So we ended up buying one of the chocolate farms, 200 cacao trees. We've got cabins all over. It's the river coming through the middle. It is springtime every single day of the year. Perfect, beautiful weather. And 200 chocolate trees, 40 avocado trees. It's beautiful. So we have people come down, connecting with nature. Now we're going to work on your shit.
But when they come back to the United States, their head's right, but they've gained 5 pounds. Is that?
No, they actually are super healthy. Everything
we the chocolate.
exactly the chocolate,
It's the
but it's
chocolate.
pure cacao, so there's not all of the extra stuff in there.
I need the extra stuff.
Yeah.
I need this. And
but
almonds.
You do have an almond
And
tree.
almonds, and that's my favorite Hershey's bar.
I've got a coconut tree, an almond tree, and chocolate trees. We can literally make an almond joy right there. Boom. And we've got sugar cane growing right
and
behind.
You can handle my you can fix my emotional issues.
Exactly.
There's no reason to come back to the
Exactly.
United States.
Just come down there. So we the first day we do like a cacao ceremony, literally hot chocolate, but it's like 4 hours and working through with the hot chocolate and the roses and stuff.
Better, bro.
You know, working through, and I'd fallen in love with yourself, and then the next day we have a curated playlist put together by scientists at Johns Hopkins University that we say, okay, now, and we actually put the psilocybin in chocolate bars. You're going to say, okay, you know, the psilocybin might not be addictive, but these chocolate bars are.
Right.
Right? And so we give you a couple of the chocolate bars, boom, you've got 2.5 grams in each one, so 1 or 2 of those, you've got 4.5 grams. It's a full send. About 15 minutes later, you're laying there on your cot. We've got headphones on and an eye mask on, and you know, for the next 6 hours, you're going to need help walking to the bathroom if you need to go. But it's a deep transformational experience on the medicine with the music, and the first 2 hours is you and yourself and your intentions, and yes, rewiring your subconscious mind and working with some stuff. And then about 2 hours into it, we pull that mask off and say, okay, now let's talk about what's going on. You know, you're in this beautiful state of neuroplasticity. You remember everything. You're not gonna, you know, pull off your shorts and yell stupid shit, whatever. You remember everything, but you're in this very impressionable state. And now we can have a beautiful conversation about anything that we talked about that you want to release, and rewire those and reframe that and see that thing that happened from your uncle at 7 years, see that from a different perspective, whatever it is that we need to rewire. Put you in front of the mirror, have you say your positive affirmations, what it is that we need to implant those new neural pathways, that new stuff in your subconscious mind, so that you come back a completely transformed person. In fact, we have 100% of the people over the last 4 months since we finished our sanctuary have said that was the most transformational experience of my entire life. So, but it's something sadly we can't do in the U.S. right now. I've been friends with RFK for about 10 years. We've been texting back and forth. He's committed to not only do some stuff with Big Pharma and the food companies, but to help decriminalize the proper use of psychedelics when it comes to helping people through some of these challenges. Here's the sad thing. You know, when people ask all the time, well, why did it take you so long to get your movie out? You know, what was the deal with that? Well, if you think that Epstein really hurt himself, I've got a bridge in Brooklyn to sell you, right? No, if a lot of this stuff on a high level is used as blackmail and manipulation. So yes, we were taking down rings throughout Latin America and whatnot, but the high level stuff, Epstein did not run everything on his own. If you were an agency, I won't say which, but let's say that you were an agency and you wanted full control of the votes of a senator, of a congressman, of a federal judge, you want to control their votes forever, you get them on film at an Epstein Island with a 12-year-old. You get them on film with any of those things, you control them forever, right?
I was gonna say, most other things, like let's say a honeypot, most other things are forgivable. Like people will, like your wife may or may not forgive you for having an affair if there are photos out there or a video. There are some things that are just, you know, you making a racist comment. There's tons of things that people will be like, you know, you could apologize and people will get over. They ain't getting over that.
No, not at all.
Never.
And it doesn't matter if you're, you know, if you're a Republican, if you're a Democrat, if you're white, you're black, you're rich, you're poor. Nobody's okay with somebody abusing children like that, right? But sadly, some of these elitist groups, there's initiations that are part of that involve that level of control. You want this kind of help to get to where you need to be. We need control over you to make sure that you will never go outside of us. So this is what we need. And so some of them willingly go into it, knowing that it's initiation, knowing that they're going to be able to get in these doors, get these roles, get all of that stuff. It's all over the place. This is that years ago. There was a book I read years and years ago called The CIA's Book of Dirty Tricks, and in there had these very things on film with stuff like this. You make this kind of a thing happen, and then you control them with the unforgivable. And so, yes, I believe that it's not just in politics. I believe that in Hollywood is pervasive. The P. Diddy thing is just the tip of the iceberg. And guys, we need to be very aware of who we're supporting. I used to be a huge Will Smith fan. I loved all of his movies until I realized what his wife saw when he walked in on him in the bedroom, and what parties he was at with P. Diddy, and who else was at those parties, and what was going on. And I got to thought, you know what? I sadly can't watch some of my favorite movies now because that actor's in it and I know what's going on there, and that actor's in it and I know what's going on there. And so my wife does more than this than me. I'm like, can we watch anything anymore? She goes, yeah, we can watch this movie and this movie. That's all. Because there's a lot of people, sadly, that are involved with what you and I would say is the unforgivable. But it's this secret Luciferian pact that they make that is part of how they get the infinite amount of popularity and wealth, etc., or power when it comes to politics. And it happens all the time. And it's planned very specifically. Our monetary system, our media, all of it is controlled. And even when our movie came out and everybody wanted to see it because we took it to the people, by the people, right? We have my money and other high wealth investors that put it together. And then even when it came out, we had a grassroots movement with good people that were all part of social media that were pushing it out. It was, if you weren't on a somewhat conservative social media platform, you didn't even hear of Sound of Freedom. It was the #1 independent film on the planet. You didn't even hear it because it wasn't mentioned at the Oscars. It wasn't mentioned on any of the big media channels. Nothing. I mean, we beat out Indiana Jones and the Mission Impossible. We beat those out of the gate. And crickets. Nobody even talked about it. The only way you heard it was by good people saying you need to go see this movie.
I don't I mean, I just don't understand how the media can ignore things like that and craft the news in such a way and still sleep at night and not think that you're a scumbag.
If you sleep hot at night, you know how disruptive that can be. Whether you're having trouble falling asleep, you're waking up sweating in the middle of the night, or all of the above. That's where Ghost Bed can help. As the makers of the coolest beds in the world, Ghost Bed is your go-to for cooling mattresses, cooling pillows, and cooling bedding. From their signature Ghost Ice fabric to patented technology that adjusts to your body's temperature, every Ghost Bed mattress is designed with cooling in mind. So whether you want a plusher mattress that cushions your shoulders and hips, or a firm option with exceptional support, your Ghost Bed will keep you cool and comfortable all night long. When you purchase a Ghost Bed mattress, your comfort is guaranteed. You can try out your mattress for 101 nights, risk-free, to make sure it's the right fit for you. Plus, they offer free shipping, and most items are shipped within 24 hours. If you're not sure which Ghost Bed is right for you, check out their mattress quiz. You'll answer a few questions and get a personalized recommendation. Even better, our listeners can get 50% off site-wide for a limited time. Just visit ghostbed.com/Cox and use the code COX at checkout. Again, that's ghostbed.com/Cox with the code COX at the checkout to save a whopping 50% off site-wide. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Does it make sense? If you're working, if you're Don Lemon, and regardless of what your political views are, if you can't not know certain things are right, and even if you're neutral and you're being told from the top down, here's what we're focusing. Yeah, but what about this? And they go, no, ignore that. Why? Instead, it's just they're blindly following whatever path they're being led along. And at some point, you would think, I don't know, there's just no journalistic. I was going to say your journalistic integrity, but the truth is if you have journalistic integrity, you don't end up on CNN.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You don't get to that
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because you've asked too many questions, and they thought, yeah, that dude's he's asking too many. He's asking the right questions.
He wants the truth.
Get rid of him. We need someone that will blindly do what we're telling him to do.
Exactly. You know, and sadly, we kind of got pigeonholed in the beginning because some of the actors were, you know, speaking at super conservative rallies and everything else, and so people like, oh, this is a right-wing film. It's not. I mean, literally, only the religious part of the entire film was when Jim Caviezel says, God's children are not for sale. Right? That's not religious,
Yeah.
right? And so getting
that's
pigeonholed there was simply because some of them were trying to hide stuff. But I will say this, you know, there are some people that really, even some people involved with the movie, who genuinely thought that if you voted Democrat, you're probably a sicko. I said, guys, just so you know, we've arrested just as many people on the right as the left.
Yeah.
It has nothing whatsoever. This is one thing we can all come together on. Everybody. This shouldn't be a right or left issue. Never should have been from the beginning. Not the border wall shouldn't have been right or left. The movie shouldn't have been right or nothing should have been right or left regarding the kids. This is all something that we can come together on and do it for our own kids. There's a book written almost 100 years ago that it kind of goes down and it's called Pawns in the Game by William Carr. Okay? Every chapter he says, okay, I'm going to drop a bomb. And then I'm going to show you, I'm going to prove it to you, right? He was in high-level military intelligence and some stuff, and he talks about what he calls the Luciferian order, which has been all the way back to the time, I mean, it's been forever, but how the Bilderberg group and the Rothschilds and the Baron Rothschild making these promises for infinite amounts of wealth if we put this kind of control upon humanity in their monetary system, in their media system, everything all the way across. And it lays out everything from World War I, World War II, what's going to happen with World War III, why it was all fought, all of this division between all of us, the breakdown of the nuclear family, the control of the media, all of this stuff by design in taking us to a level of control. This is why, you know, I've got the Child Liberation Foundation, which helps to eradicate child trafficking. It's doing a fantastic job. But I also have Liberating Humanity. Humanity as a whole is closer to a place of slavery than you can imagine. We sit here and think, oh yeah, slavery disappeared at the time of Abraham Lincoln. No, you've got human slaves more today than all 300 years of a transatlantic slave trade put together, which is what we were talking about with child trafficking. But beyond that, we've got all of us who our minds are being controlled with this manipulation. Our finances are being controlled. Our media is controlled. We need to wake up and liberate ourselves from all of this crap. This is one of the reasons I believe they demonized the proper use of psychedelics back in the late 60s, is because they knew that if people used them properly, they wouldn't be controllable. They would break free of all of this control factors in the media and the politics and everything else, so that they could truly awaken and think clearly.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like the public school. You're being, it's a minimal education to create workers. Like that's what public school is. Like they don't, like, first of all, it would require one extra class of finance for you to understand that, hey kids, if you just put a couple $100 away in a savings account every month, you'd be a multimillionaire in 30 years. Like compound interest, like this isn't rocket science. You know, like there are little tiny changes you have to make that would guarantee that you would live a much better life. We don't teach them that. We don't teach them how to read, teach them how to write, teach them the history that we want them to know, teach them how to follow directions, how to work in a factory, how to be a low-level manager. And if they're super smart, they can become a manager. But that's public school. But if your family is wealthy, well, now we send you to the schools that teach you those extra couple of classes, and you have a much better chance of becoming wealthy, an entrepreneur, owning your own business. And it's subtle. It's not even huge. It's not even a massive amount of money or extra education. It's a couple of classes. It's a few more classes that you have to take. You don't have to take it for 5 years. The last year of high school, you could teach a couple extra classes, or over the course of 3 years, and it would fundamentally change everybody's thinking, they don't do that. What you're doing is, how do we get rid of slavery? And instead of having to buy these slaves, house them, educate them, feed them, give them, keep them healthy, how do we do that? How do we get these guys to work for slave labor and give them just enough money so that they can house themselves, feed themselves, get their own, keep themselves healthy, get to work and get back. And if they can't even do that, we'll give them buses to get back and forth. We'll give them just enough, So I mean, I've always, looked at that and thought, listen, they just changed it subtly, and they don't now everybody's free to work at Walmart and stock shelves and not be able to pay for your health care and struggle your whole life and take the bus back and forth to work and live in an expensive one-bedroom apartment and just be in a shitty situation and basically be a slave the rest of your life. But free YouTube's free, so.
Well, and see, here's the thing: we live in a world of infinite abundance, yet we're literally in slavery, working 40 hours a week just to be able to survive. I have a book that'll be coming out next year. I've got one this year called The Sound of Freedom that'll be coming out in July, and it's got lots of details of keeping your kids safe and transforming the world, as well as some of the rescue missions, etc. But the one I'm working on for later this year is called Conscious Capitalism, about how literally there is infinite abundance for all of us, but we have to break free from these chains, this education system that's teaching us how to work in factories, understand the power of the creative mind and how we can pull together and create literal infinite abundance for everybody on earth. So super excited for that as well when it comes out.
Yeah, the other thing I was gonna say is that it's funny that all the things that can control your mind and the way you're thinking, all of that's free. Instagram, YouTube, like all of these are free things. You know what I'm saying? And how easily they can sway perception.
I have seen it firsthand, and people will watch Sound of Freedom and say, oh, that stuff doesn't happen. No, I know it's hard to swallow. It's hard to think that there are people out there with these intentions. I promise you there are.
Oh, listen, I can tell you right now, we can take an hour trip and drive down to the low security prison in Coleman, Florida, the federal prison. And I tell you right now, 50% of the 2,000 inmates in the low are all sickos.
Yeah,
they're all weirdos.
Yeah, they are,
and they're just like normal people. That you know what I'm saying? You would never
guess. Yeah,
we had 3 guys there that worked for NASA, and they were all locked up for. There was a military wing that, out of 150 guys in the military wing, like 130 of them had those crimes.
Wow.
And I mean, it's insane.
Yeah.
And these are guys that they're looking at photographs. Because if they're hands-on, and there's a few that are hands-on, but if they're really hands-on, they end up in the state, and they get less time in the state for being hands-on than they do in the feds for looking at photographs. So I mean, the disparity is insane. Like, these are guys that actually made that step, took that step, and did something, and they get less time.
Wow.
It's
broken system.
It's everywhere. It's everywhere.
Yeah. Well, I believe we can fix it. I really do. It's not going to be shooting more guys. It's not going to be arresting more guys. It's not going to be rescuing more kids. Yes, those things need to happen. Yes, we need to make sure that, once they've crossed that line, they're wasting my oxygen. We need to make sure that they're not in a place where they can harm a child. However, if we're going to really fix this, we've got to back up a little bit. We've got to take our adolescents and our young men and help them find the healing that they need before they ever pass that trauma on.
Get to that point.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's what needs to happen. The Sound of Freedom book, they can pre-order it on Liberating Humanity. They can even go to sofbook.com, soundoffreedombook.com or sofbook. It just made it easy if somebody's driving in their car or whatever else. So you can go to soundoffreedombook.com or sofbook.com, or you can go right into, and those will just link you into liberatinghumanity.com. And Liberating Humanity not only has a pre-order for the Sound of Freedom book, but it also has things to keep your kids safe. It also has some different programs by some of my trainers, and it also has, under the retreats, a whole bunch of information on the healing retreats and the proper use of some of these plant medicines to help people get through the things that they need to get through, etc. So all of those links are on there as well. And you can go from there, get linked into the Child Liberation Foundation if you want to donate and help, or you can just go to childliberation.org.
Hey, you guys, I appreciate you watching. Do me a favor, hit the subscribe button to get notified of videos just like this. Please share the video. Also, we're going to leave all of Paul's links that he just went over. We're going to leave all of those links in the description box. So you just click on the description box, go in there, hit the links. It'll bring you right there. Really appreciate you guys watching. Please consider joining our Patreon. Also, we have a clips channel and a shorts channel, and the links are also in the description, and also those links are on the website. You can click there and go there and subscribe. Thank you very much, you guys. I really appreciate it. See you.